Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome back to Mindi and the Mic from Stigma to Connection. This week, I got to sit down with my friend Kaitlyn, who currently finished up med school and is going into her residency in psychiatry. We talked about all what med school is like and how did she push through it. And guys, she did not hold back. We talked about, too, why she ended up choosing psychiatry as her specialty. And she was pretty vulnerable, and I asked some pretty point-blank questions, and I also opened up, too, about my first time when I went to therapy as a freshman in college. We also got to talk about her side gig that she does. She's a full-time dance teacher, and how she used to dance in college, and how that impacts her as well, and how it helps her decompress from her med school life. I hope you enjoyed this chat, just because it's super fun just to see the reality of what med school is like and just to hear what Kaitlyn has to say about what she would tell someone who's currently going into med school. Quick heads up, if you're watching the video version on YouTube, I have to apologize. My storage ran out on my camera, and so therefore the last 6 minutes of the video you don't really see. But I promise that the audio captures it all. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I'm Mindi. And I have a microphone. So this must be Mindi and the Mic from Stigma to Connection. Let's have a conversation. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to Mindi and the Mic from Stigma to Connection. And today I'm with my friend Kaitlyn. Kaitlyn and I met at Providence City Group, technically. And the first time I went to City Group, you weren't there.
Sad.
Yeah, you were actually, I think you were sick, and I don't know if you remember that.
I don't know. I just remember hearing we had a new girl, Mindi, and she was really cool. So I was happy when I finally got to meet you.
Oh, that's so sweet. Yeah, Kaitlyn and I met because I heard a lot of people talk about you as well, because they heard that I went to counseling and that I am a counselor. And they were like, you should meet Kaitlyn because she's studying to be a psychiatrist.
Yeah, that mental health connection.
Yeah,
we love it.
And then I remember the first time you met me, you came down and sat down. You were like, you're Mindi, and you're studying to be a therapist, and you have a podcast.
I'm so creepy. I'm sorry.
You're not. It was very inviting and very warm. And I was like,
good.
Oh, she wants to get to know me.
Yeah, I was just too excited. Couldn't contain it.
But yeah, today I asked Kaitlyn to be on the podcast today because she's finishing up med school, correct?
Yeah. Yep, I graduate in May.
Oh, congratulations. So you did med school for about the past 3 years or 4 years?
Past 4 years, yeah.
4 years.
And then I'm graduating in May.
Oh my goodness, I have so many questions already. So what made you want to go into med school?
Yeah, kind of a lot of things. I think all growing up, I just always loved science and math and kind of those more STEM fields. But I also have always just been a big people person. So I knew I wanted to find a career that kind of mix both of those aspects. And so medicine was always really exciting to me. And also I always loved school. So I knew I wanted a career where I would just be always learning. So yeah, that was kind of the start of things. And, then as I got more involved and did shadowing, I knew that I could see myself doing it.
Yeah. So when you did undergrad, did you know that you were oh, med school is the next thing?
Yeah, I was pretty sure. There were definitely times where I second guessed a little bit and considered some other paths, but for the most part, I went in knowing that that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah, and where was your undergrad then?
Yeah, at the University of Iowa.
Oh, wow. And then now you moved to Nebraska. And are you from Iowa?
No, I'm actually from Missouri. So I've just been making my way across the Midwest.
Yeah. What made you want to choose Iowa, their program?
A few things. I have some family in Iowa. I also grew up doing competitive dance. And so I wanted to go somewhere where I could still be on a competitive dance team and also get a really good education. So honestly, I usually say I chose Iowa because of dance team, but I got to have like a strong education and everything else too.
Oh my gosh, that's so awesome.
Yeah.
I think something that Kaitlyn and I really connect on is Dancing with the Stars.
Mm-hmm.
I am not a dancer, but I know that every time I see her in person, I'm like, did you see this reel? Or did you see the win?
We love Dancing with the Stars.
Yeah, I want Steven to win, but I know that you wanted Joey to win.
I was a big Joey fan. Also really like Chandler, but I feel like Joey just had the X factor, you know?
Mm-hmm,
But Steven is like just very precious.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And dancing is what you do on your time off from med school, right? In your spare time?
Yeah, so I have a little side hustle as a dance teacher.
My gosh.
And teach like classes and private lessons. So yeah, that's what I do to stay sane, I guess.
Decompress from all the schoolwork and all the tests.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So can you describe to me just med school, the process of it? I know you said you've been like going the past 4 years, but you're about to embark residency, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit different at every school, but for most places, it's 4 years, and the first 1.5 to 2 years, you're mostly in the classroom. So just having lectures and then exams every few weeks. And then during your 3rd year, you do clinical rotations. So we rotate on internal medicine, pediatrics, psychiatry, surgery, OBGYN, and I'm forgetting one. Oh, family medicine. So those are our core rotations. And then during your 4th year, you get to explore more electives of like, what do you want to do with your life? And then also going through the residency application process, which is what you were alluding to. And that's just what I've gone through this past year. And then after you graduate from medical school, you go into a residency, and that trains you for whatever specialty you chose. So yeah, it's a long process, but
yeah. How many hours a week, or do you think you're devoting to like homework and classes?
Oh gosh, it's very variable for the year. So like my 1st and 2nd year when I was in the classroom, I don't know, like we would be in lecture usually 8 hours a day, and then you're studying for a few hours at night or whatever you can fit in. So a lot of hours. And then similar for clinicals, like you're working a full day and then you got to go home and study. This year was probably the most laid back. But still there's all the hustle and bustle of getting your residency application put together and interviewing and all that fun stuff. So yeah, it's a big time commitment.
How much more of time do you think compared to undergrad is like med school?
Oh, goodness. For me, I felt like it was a lot more. In undergrad, I felt like I had a really good balance of, I spent a lot of time doing school, but I also spent a lot of time doing dance team stuff. And so it didn't feel like as much. But I remember when I started med school, I felt like school was the only thing I had time for. So like no matter what kind of boundaries I tried to set, it was hard to feel like it wasn't just all consuming.
Yeah. Yeah. Still though, that's a lot of time.
Yeah.
And how do you not burn out?
Yeah, that it's hard not to. I think everybody does at some point, honestly. I tried to set good boundaries with my time and just making sure I had time for friends and family and just doing things that were relaxing outside of school. But there are definitely seasons where you just kind of have to grind, and by the end of it, you're a little bit burnout.
Yeah, just tired.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think it's all worth it in the end?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I was going to say, if you said no, I'd be like, Kaitlyn, I don't think you should do that.
I'd be concerned, but no, it's so worth it, especially being where I'm at now and just matched in a residency. It's like
oh my gosh,
the best feeling ever.
Yeah, I was so excited when you got where you wanted to match.
Yes, yeah, I'm so pumped. So it definitely has paid off.
Awesome. What surprised you about the mental toll of med school?
Yeah, that's a good question. I definitely went in with the idea that it would be hard. Like, I feel like everybody just says how hard it is. And I'm like more of an anxious person, I would say. So I knew it. Yeah, you get it. Yeah. I knew it would probably be tough, but I think what surprised me most was just like the amount of information you have to learn and the time you have to learn it was just really overwhelming.
Yeah.
I think if you had all the time in the world, med school like wouldn't be as big of a deal, but there are only so many hours in the day to learn the material, and that was like exhausting.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I would be exhausted. So props to you. And I don't know about you. I don't know if I'm a perfectionist, but I just want to make sure that I give my 100%
Yes.
to my work, whether that's homework, whether that's doing counseling, whether that's even like being in my relationship. And I feel like if you're like have your 5 toes dipped in 5 different basins of water, you're like, oh my gosh, like I don't think I can give 100% to each little thing.
Yes, no, that's such a good point, because I feel like one of the big adjustments for me was being okay with it not being like perfect, and just realizing I'm not going to learn all the information, and that's okay. Like there's a point where it just has to be good enough. And yeah, that was hard.
Yeah, this might be a point blank question, but are you a perfectionist, would you say?
Yeah. Yeah, I would say so. It's definitely something that I've been working on for a long time, but I think, yeah.
Thanks for answering that. Thanks for your vulnerability.
Yeah.
I know that was like a point blank question, but yeah, no, I think it's so easy to become a perfectionist too, even if you don't even like, if you're not high strung, if you're not on that tendency, especially something like med school where they look at your performance and they look at your tests and grades and whatnot.
Right. I think a lot of people in med school are probably lean the perfectionist way.
Yeah. How did you find support?
Yeah. So I feel really lucky that early on in medical school, I made really close friends. At my school, we have this big orientation week with all kinds of different social events. And I just got to meet so many people that week that I felt like from the very beginning, I had people in my corner. And I think you just bond really quickly because you're spending so much time together. So yeah, I'm thankful to all my classmates for just like getting through it with me. And then also just really leaning on my family who have always been there for me. So yeah, that's been really important. And then starting med school, I was dating my now husband. And so he was like very supportive, still very supportive. So I owe a lot to him.
Is he a med student too?
No. Which I'm kind of thankful for, because I think it's awesome when people can make that work, but I feel like that would be overwhelming to me.
I feel like that you would like go to work and then come home, aka to more work.
Yeah.
Even though even you and your husband, if you were in the same field, like that's what I know a lot of couples. I know like maybe a couple of couples that have the same profession and so they can relate with one another.
Yes.
But also at the same time, I think when you come home and you can just like decompress and leave work at work is also a good too.
For sure. There are definitely benefits to like having a partner in your field, but I also, I like that I can come home and just like be me. He doesn't really see me as like, the doctor. Like, I don't want him to see me like that.
Dr. Kaitlyn.
Yeah, I just want to be Kaitlyn. So I like that a lot.
Yeah. What does he do?
He's an actuary. So math, lots of math. So yeah.
So you both have the math and science in common?
Yes. Yeah. So we're both little analytical brains, but in different ways, which is good.
Yeah. Yeah. Did being in med school affect your sleep and your appetite and just your normal day-to-day rhythms?
A little bit. I think, again, kind of depending on the time. I feel like during my first 2 years when it was a lot of lectures, that was like pretty routine, pretty normal. But when you're on your rotations, the hours are different for every rotation. For surgical rotations, you're up at the crack of dawn and there all day and don't always have time for like adequate nutrition. So that definitely impacted things a lot. I think there have been a lot of times where I've gotten less sleep than I would prefer, but it's been nice to catch up on that this year.
Yeah. I feel like that would be my impression, that sleep would be the one that you would lose the most.
Yeah.
The pressure of like always studying or always making sure that you have everything for the next test.
Yeah. And I felt like during the first few years, you can kind of control that. But yeah, once you're on your rotations and your time isn't really your own anymore, it gets a little harder.
Have you seen real patients then in your rotations?
Yeah. Yeah. So that's the fun part of the 3rd and 4th year is that you get to actually help take care of people.
Oh my goodness. It's so fun. Have you, did that maybe help just being in the med school process and not just being behind a computer all day?
For sure. I always say that it got increasingly better every year.
Yeah.
Just because, the more you learn, the more you can actually apply things to real life.
Mm-hmm.
And once you're seeing patients for real, it's so much more rewarding. The learning is so much more applicable. And I just, like I said earlier, I'm a big people person. So I would much rather be learning in a team environment and with patients than just sitting in the library.
Yeah, I would not want to sit in the library.
It got really old.
Yeah. But did you say that, just your conception of being a doctor, there was probably a lot more reality to it when you were meeting patients. You're wow, I could actually do this.
Yeah, it's kind of wild because, when you go in, starting medical school, I had shadowed and stuff, so I had an idea of what it would be like. But as a 3rd-year medical student, you're starting to interview patients on your own, and you get to make decisions. Of course, somebody is always helping you and making sure you're doing the right thing. But yeah, you take a lot more ownership of what you're doing, and you can start to picture yourself more and more in that role.
Yeah, that's how I felt as a counselor, because kind of like you, we definitely have less school, but in my internship, that's where I would sit down with and shadow clients and start to counsel, and I could be oh, I could actually do this, and actually can feel empowered to be I can help people out and give advice, etc.
Yes.
And you're kind of doing that too with a lot more paperwork, but
yes.
Yeah. So Kaitlyn, why'd you choose psychiatry then?
Yeah. So a few different things. I had some of my own mental health things go on, in middle school and high school. And so in those moments, I wasn't really thinking about my future career, but I do think looking back, it gave me, kind of a heart and passion for people going through similar struggles. But then also in my undergrad, I got involved in psychiatry research, and that kind of solidified for me that I was really interested in all the different psychiatric illnesses, and I got a lot of opportunities to shadow a psychiatrist. And so I just found it to be really fascinating. In medical school, I kind of went in with the idea that I might do psychiatry, but all the specialties are just so interesting. So I really enjoyed everything. But again, once I did my psychiatry rotation as a 3rd year, I just felt like this is somewhere I could really see myself. I felt like connecting with the patients was just really special, and felt like I was able to have a positive impact on their lives. And it's just really meaningful to me.
Yeah, I actually thought about becoming a psychiatrist myself.
Really?
So
okay.
I went to undergrad for communications, and then I went through a very, very brief moment of what if I want to be a doctor instead of just a counselor? And so I actually signed up to take some classes to get into med school. But then, full disclosure, I took physics because I had to take a science class, and then I learned really fast that I'm really bad at physics. And so then I decided, no, I'm going to stick with counseling.
That's okay. We need really good mental health professionals in every sphere. So
yeah. Do you feel like there's a lot of a stigma with being a psychiatrist?
I think it kind of depends.
Okay.
Definitely, there's, I think just in the community, not a lot of people really understand the different kinds of mental health professionals. So a lot of times people will confuse psychiatry with therapists or counselors or those kind of things, which I don't necessarily know if that's a stigma or just a lack of awareness. Yeah. But then even in the medical world, I think it's getting a lot better, but there certainly are still people out there who kind of feel there's a hierarchy of specialties. So yeah.
Do you think that going through your own mental health struggles, like you said in high school, gives you like a new perspective of empathy?
For sure, for
Yeah.
sure. I mean, I think like prior to that time, I would like to think I was like empathetic, but
Yeah.
I think just going through it yourself, you kind of start to see there were certain times where like I wasn't proud of like things I was going through, or I felt like I couldn't like change my circumstances. And it's cool to be able to translate that into patient experiences where you can recognize like, this is probably really out of their control, and just kind of feel for what they might be experiencing.
Yeah, and I think too, not trying to be unethical, but even with my friends right now, like being a counselor, I can just feel just a whole different perspective.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say like, oh, I counsel my friends, but sometimes they'll ask me like genuine advice, like, Mindi, what would you do? And then to have my experience of being a counselor and also my past mental health struggles, I can like actually give them advice that they can like chew on and not necessarily take, but have a different perspective too.
Absolutely. And I think it's like, how could you not do that? It's hard to separate those things if this is your day job, but then you're also like a very supportive friend. So you're going to be there for your friends and offer them your thoughts regardless. So,
Are you nervous at all for residency?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm nervous. I'm excited too, though. It's kind of mixed feelings.
Because it's not in Nebraska, correct?
I'm going back to Missouri, so
Yay!
I'm excited about that.
Hometown.
Whoop, whoop. So yeah, I'm very excited about that. But I think just residency is kind of scary. You're like a real doctor and taking care of patients for real for the first time. I think that's just a lot of responsibility. So it would be weird if I wasn't scared. But yeah, I think it'll be good. I'm going to learn so much.
But I have to imagine that if they didn't think that you were equipped or ready yet, you would not have passed the past 4 years, correct?
Yeah, this is a good point.
Okay.
These are the things we always have to remind ourselves.
Yeah, and my opinion is that I think it's good that we go to school for like a long period of time, because otherwise I don't think we would be equipped.
No, I can't even imagine. I can't imagine it being like shorter or less. Like, no, all the training is good. I need it.
Yeah, like you probably can remember like when you first entered med school.
Oh my gosh.
Versus now.
Yeah, I didn't know anything. It's crazy.
Yeah, and so just the experience and the insight that you've gotten about your career, about your field, and even just like your experiences too will shape who you will become as a doctor as well.
Absolutely.
And it's like super duper important too that people I don't think really understand. And I know that in the American healthcare system, people complain about like how many years we have to go to school. But at the same time, I don't want someone who's like a first year who hasn't done any school or any education, like doing surgery on my body.
No. You want your people well educated. And clearly, like, people are willing to go through the process. So, yeah, it's worth it, like I said.
Yeah. Can you tell me just like what does residency look like day to day? You probably don't know that.
Yeah, from my understanding, so every residency is a little different. For psychiatry, it's 4 years.
Okay.
And the first 2 years are usually more inpatient, so like in the hospital, whether it's like a psych hospital or seeing like patients in the general hospital who might have like psychiatric concerns. That's the bulk of it. We also do 6 months of like just general medicine. So whether that be like internal medicine or emergency medicine, just more broad. And then during our 3rd year, we do clinic. So seeing patients like in an office. And then the last year, you get to explore again, more like electives and like what you might want to do in the future.
Is it another 4 years then? So overall, you're doing 8 years of school?
Yeah, plus the 4 years of undergrad.
So 12.
So 12.
Wow.
Yeah.
But you kind of knew, like you said before, that you wanted to do it.
Yeah. And once you start residency, you're getting paid. So
okay.
It's like school, but a job. So that's a perk.
Do you want to work in the hospital?
I'm not sure yet. So far in my experiences, I've really liked working in the hospital setting. But I know that as a resident, it'll be very different, just having like more responsibility and stuff. So I am curious to see kind of what I end up liking the most as a resident.
I think it's like you said, it's like you'll have to get there and see what happened and then just experience your emotions all at once.
Oh my gosh, yeah. It's going to be crazy.
How did you have good boundaries, would you say, in med school then?
Yeah, that's a good question. It definitely was a process.
Okay.
And I think kind of evolved over the years. Going in, I really tried to like set a time that I would stop studying each night. So it was like, I'm just going to do this much, and whatever I get done is what I get done. That wasn't always easy to stick to, but right. I did my best. And then I feel like once I was like married and stuff, it looked a lot different just because now I was like, it wasn't just me. Like I wanted to make sure I had time for my husband. And I think I was able to have a lot better balance. And I was further along in school by then too. So just you kind of live and you learn as you go through it.
Yeah, trial and error almost.
Absolutely. And then also over time, I realized like when I took more time for myself, I actually ended up like feeling better and like still doing fine, which is like a no-brainer, but it's hard to like trust yourself in that way. So it's a process. I'm still going to have to really work on it as I go into residency.
Yeah. This might be a really vulnerable question. Did you ever have times where you were like, I don't know if I want to do this just because the work was so much?
I definitely had some really low times. I don't think there was a point where I considered like stopping. But there were definitely points where I was like, is this how it's going to be the whole time? Like, is it going to get better? In my first year, we start anatomy like midway through the year. And so I felt like I had gotten a good groove with my exams and everything. And then we started anatomy and
oh no,
I know. And I had never taken anatomy before. So double oh no. So that was just a lot. Like I felt like that was very overwhelming and just like mentally, emotionally was very hard for me. But again, kind of with trial and error, like I figured it out. After a few weeks, I like learned some better study methods for that type of material and it got better. But yeah, it was a rough little bit of time.
Yeah. Is anatomy the one that you're labeling body parts?
Yeah. Yeah. And in med school, you do like a cadaver lab. So it's like a real human. So it's just kind of like jarring too. It's a big experience.
I would get overwhelmed, but mostly because I cannot do, like I like true crime, ironically.
Yeah, so do I.
But anything like medical, like blood, or even seeing like them being killed some way, it makes me so nervous.
Well, it's sad because it's like it's a real person,
a real human being.
And I don't mind like blood and that kind of stuff, but with the preservatives that they use, the smell is really bad, and so it's just like not the most pleasant thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we survived. We made it.
Yeah. Is your classes like, is it like your typical semester that you take like, I don't know, what's a semester?
Yeah.
Like 2 to 3 months, like undergrad?
It's a little different. At our program, we have blocks. So it'd be like a few weeks, make up a block. And we did organ system based. So like going through like the cardiac system and then respiratory. And so that was kind of nice because you can organize all the information that way. And then you have like little weekends off between each block. So I loved those weekends.
I have to ask too, what would you do with friends when you're not studying?
Ooh, yeah. With my friends, we're like pretty chill. So like after an exam, we always would just go out to eat, or there's this like line dancing place that we really like to go to. So just like a night of dancing or whatever it might be. We always like went on walks in between classes. Yeah, just trying to stay
afloat.
Yeah, stay refreshed. Yeah.
Are most of your friends like dancers like you are?
Actually, some of them are, which is kind of funny. One of the first people I met in med school danced at her college too. And so we had that connection and we're really close friends. And so that's kind of fun, but not everybody.
Do you miss dancing like in college?
I do. Yeah. It was a lot. It was a big commitment. So I think I was like ready to move on to the next thing, but I definitely miss like just the team environment. It was so special. And you get a little bit of that in medicine, like similar, but I don't know. It's never the same.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm glad that you get to teach though, and that you get to teach and you get to kind of experience that sport still.
Yes, I feel very lucky that I've had that opportunity. And just like random little opportunities over the years too, like judging competitions and just like doing private lessons with people, and just little things sprinkled in to keep me going that way.
Yeah, I've listened to a lot of podcasts by like NBA players or NFL players, and that they've like retired because you retire at 35. And the biggest thing that they say they miss is they miss like playing the sport.
Yeah.
And they miss doing that because that was their career. And so I know that your dancing was not a career. You're going to be a doctor, but still, I think there's some of that grieving almost of like, oh, like I did this for 4 years undergrad, and dance is a serious sport.
Yeah.
Like I've heard some of the, like listen to some of the Dance with the Stars, like people and the routines and the rehearsals. It's like it's not like, oh, you just go out and perform. You like get to the grind. It's a lot.
Yeah. And for me too, I think a lot of times it was such a release.
Yeah.
Because dancing is expressive. It's an art. It's not only a sport. So yeah, for me, a lot of times I could like just kind of let go when I was dancing. And so now that I'm teaching, it is kind of fun that I get to like choreograph or like dance with my students. And that still is like really fun for me.
Aww.
So, yeah.
Did you go on Dancing with the Stars?
Oh my gosh. I need them to do like Dancing with the normal people because I'm not a star, but I would love to do it.
Kaitlyn, you could like research your next biggest like cancer cure.
Oh my gosh.
Or maybe not cancer, you're not oncology.
Something with psychiatry. And then get them to take me on the show.
Yeah.
That's the whole goal.
I want to be on the show so bad.
Oh my gosh, I know. It's so good.
Yeah. I think I researched like, had there been any mental health therapists on Dancing with the Stars? And
you could be the first.
But unlike you, I don't have any dance experience. I guess it's
but sometimes they like that.
Yeah.
Because those are the real like entertaining people. Like you see them grow, and that's like the fun part.
Yeah, and it's not like your basic, oh, this is your backstage dancer Beyonce going on. Yeah. Well, what would you say to someone who's thinking about going to med school?
Oh, I would say just like keep on the path. I'm sure if they're thinking about going to med school, they know that it's a long journey and that it's tough. But as I've said a few times, it's so worth it. And it's like such an amazing process. And you learn so much about yourself and other people. And at the end of it all, have an opportunity to like really help a lot of people. So just keep it up.
Keep it up. Would you tell that to your younger self?
Yeah, I would definitely encourage my younger self to just keep going and like trust the process. I think there's a lot of uncertainty in the process. And so just knowing that like it all works out.
In the end?
Yeah.
Do you think there's stuff that you regret at all?
Like along the way?
Yeah, along the way. Or even not regret. That's like a really intense word. But something that you wish that you would have done differently?
Yeah. Honestly, I wish I would have studied a little bit less in the beginning. Yeah. And I think it's easy to say that looking back.
Yeah.
But I just think in the beginning, I really made it a lot harder on myself than I needed to. And I wish I would have just maintained more of my hobbies and like cared more for myself when I started out.
Do you think that was because of lack of awareness, or you had to focus on school? Why do you think that is?
I felt like I went in very aware of like the risk of that, but I think it's just so easy to get like sucked into it. And like I said, I'm kind of an anxious person, and I think I try to control that by just being like so prepared and on top of it. So in a way, it was like trying to manage my feelings of anxiety.
So it's more like a coping skill. Even.
Yeah, more like a coping skill if we're going to like really get into it. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think with hindsight now you know what to not to do when going to residency. I know that's probably a lot less paperwork, or maybe more paperwork and less homework.
Yeah, more paperwork.
But maybe a lot less tests. Or do you have tests in residency?
There's still tests every year, but it's much less focus on that.
Okay.
Like the focus of residency is just like patient care,
hands-on
and learning.
Experience.
Yeah. So that's going to be like my motivator rather than just like a test score. So.
And that's a lot more exciting too, because then you can actually be in the moment with someone versus like trying to perform for them.
Yeah. It's so much more meaningful.
Do patients in residency know that you are just a resident?
I think it kind of depends.
Okay.
Because definitely like residents, we always introduce ourselves, or like I might say, I'm Dr. So-and-so, like I'm one of the residents on your team. But sometimes I wonder how much like patients understand the hierarchy. Because then like we'll see patients in the morning and then attendings will come by with the rest of the team later and be like, I'm the attending, I'm in charge. So they do know, but I always am curious, like to what extent do they know what all that means, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I think too, when people seek psychiatry, and I know when people seek counseling, I think they kind of just want help. They should care about if you're credentialed or not, if you're licensed. Like,
yeah, that's important.
Yeah. But I think I know like patients, and I'm speaking myself as once a client too for therapy. I think that when you just want help, you just really don't care about, like, to some extent, you just really need help.
Absolutely.
And you don't really care what your provider, what it looks like, or what your provider does for fun. Yeah.
When I was, I think a second year medical student, I like utilized our school's counseling services, and I went to a counseling student because I was like, I'm a student, so I want to help this student like learn, but also it's like, yeah, whoever wants to talk to me is great. Like I just want someone to talk to.
Yeah, I remember when I went to counseling for my first time too. I was like a freshman in college, and I went to my counselor. I went to the school counseling, and I was like so ashamed because I was like, I'm a freshman, I don't need counseling. Like, why am I here? And I remember like sitting down there for the first time, and when we started working through, I think I had some like seasonal depression, and she was giving me like practical, helpful coping skills. I was like, this is amazing. Like, I need to keep going.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah.
So good.
And just like mental health is not necessarily taught in our basic education systems. Maybe that's changing. I don't really know. But
I hope so.
I hope so too. I wasn't in public school either though, so I wouldn't know. But I think it's definitely a skill that needs to be learned. And that's why we have mental health providers like counselors, therapists, psychiatrists, even psychologists.
Yeah. Everyone is so needed.
Yeah. But this has been great, Kaitlyn. Thank you so much for being on.
Thank you for having me. This is so fun.
Yeah. Before we leave, though, I have some rapid fire questions for you.
Ooh, okay.
Who was the last person that you called?
I think my husband.
That makes sense. Are you a morning person or a night person?
Morning person.
Are you a iced coffee in the winter kind of gal?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I cannot. Good for you.
Oh, I can drink any kind of coffee anytime.
Coffee over tea?
Yes.
Yeah. Where is your preferred place to study?
Coffee shop. Clearly, I love coffee. No, I like the noise, though, and the hustle bustle.
Yeah, you don't like quiet?
No.
I'm the same way. That's why I always went to my school library.
Oh, yeah.
Because they had like 3 levels. The first level would be like super duper quiet. People would actually care. Well, I cared, but the third one was like, you have people chatting, people can come up to you, etc. I'm the same way.
No, I just feel like this is so weird, but it kept me accountable because I'm like, all these people are watching, even though they're not watching me. I would tell myself they were.
It's almost like, what's it called? A placebo effect.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. What's the most used app on your phone? Google?
Maybe. I was going to say like Instagram, at least right now. I've been scrolling.
But at least you're in the know.
I guess. Yeah, I'm in the know.
Yeah. What would you be if you weren't a doctor or weren't in medicine?
If I wasn't in medicine, I always say that I would be some kind of high school teacher and then coach dance team.
Oh, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like super jealous of your dance skills, by the way.
Oh my God.
I haven't seen you dance. I feel like everyone who's a dancer or has done dance, I like have really high respect for. So
That's so nice. That's so sweet.
Well, Kaitlyn, again, thank you so much for being on Mindi with the mic.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This was so great.